What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, French President Emmanuel Macron is wrapping up his visit to Africa and Ethiopia. He was down there for the African Forest Summit, recently hosted in Nairobi. And Ethiopia is a great place to build relationships with. It's the closest thing Africa really has at this moment to an emerging power. France has agreed to invest 54 million euros into their electricity grid to make the country more effective and efficient. And truthfully, I think this is a friend that Ethiopia is going to need. They're demanding a push to the sea, and it's only three routes, right? Eritrea, and that will have to be through war. And I don't think Ethiopia wants to take a violent route. I think it will get too much pushbacks. Djibouti's another option. Like I said, that will have to be active aggression, something that, and that's definitely going to happen. It's too many foreign powers with their hand in the pot in Djibouti, and they're going to want the status quo in that country. That only leaves negotiation through Somaliland. The problem is Somaliland is a breakaway region of Somalia that's not recognized, and Somalia is resisting that fervently. And they have a lot of friends in the Islamic world that also support Somalia's assertion, as well as the most populous Arab country in the world, in Egypt, as well as a strong NATO member in Turkey. Turkey is putting a lot of investments, whether that's talking about offshore oil exploration, bases in Somalia. They want Somalia to be a unified country, and they're going to do anything they can to keep that the case. So with Ethiopia buddying up to France, like this really helps Ethiopia's claim, because right now they're saying, okay, we're friends with Turkey, but sooner or later the rubber going to hit the road if Ethiopia wants to secure its access to the sea, especially if Somaliland is the only real viable option outside of war. And with France coming in and supporting Ethiopia, what this does is you have a NATO member to counteract Turkey, and you can say arguably with the nuclear powers, the strongest military force on the Mediterranean with France. So France and Macron and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, they are going out with the tweets. They're praising each other. They're showing strong signs of support, and I really think this is Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed hedging his bets in case Turkey decides to get aggressive as Ethiopia try to assert its claims to sea access. Now it has France in its corner, and it's going to make Turkey think twice if they try to take any other action outside of diplomatic means. Love to hear your thoughts. Comment below. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.